Have you ever had a loved one who had an addiction? They've got to want help to a degree. If they don't recognize it, if they can't come to terms with it, that's one of the things with an intervention is you get in a room with people who care about the person and explain to them their problem and how it's affecting their loved ones and try to make them realize that they've got an addiction and they need help for it. And I was thinking about that this weekend. I was in Colorado over the weekend giving a speech, and in Georgia, they were having their state Republican convention. Now, Georgia is kind of the center of the political universe for the next 2 years. It is the swingiest of the swing states now. It is a Republican state that went for Joe Biden. Republicans convinced themselves it was stolen. But then you fast forward from 2020 to 2022, and Brian Kemp won. All the Republicans won. The only Republican who lost was Herschel Walker for the U.S. Senate, a deeply flawed candidate. And Joe Biden and some Republican nominee, Trump or someone else, are going to campaign in the state. And the polling's pretty terrible there for Donald Trump. And the state Republican Party is addicted, it seems, to outrage. They had their convention over the weekend. I want to read you something from December in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. Conservative North Georgia talk show host Brian Pritchard allegedly voted illegally 9 times while serving a felony sentence in a $33,000 forgery and theft case, state officials say. The Georgia Attorney General's office wrote Thursday that Pritchard broke state law each time he voted before his sentence was completed. According to a filing with the Office of State Administrative Hearings, state law prohibits felons from voting. Pritchard, the head of a website, qualified to run in a special election for a state House seat. He says, I've done nothing wrong. I guess if you're apprehending public enemy number one, here I am. His sentence ended long ago. His rights have been restored, he said. So Brian Pritchard pleaded guilty in 1996 to 3 felonies in Allegheny County, Pennsylvania. 2 counts of forgery, 1 count of theft by failure to make a required disposition of funds. His sentence included probation and restitution payments of over $33,000. He registered to vote in Georgia in 2008. He voted in 9 elections before his felony probation sentence ended in 2011, according to the Attorney General's office. The Attorney General's office has been pursuing the matter. I don't know where it stands. But so here's a guy who is a stop the steal advocate. He believes the 2020 election was stolen in Georgia. He believes people improperly voted in the state. I mean, he is kind of an expert, it sounds like. He's a felon. His rights have been restored. Had a probation and restitution payments of $33,000. His probation ended in 2011. His rights have been restored. According to the state, rehabilitated. He voted, according to the Attorney General of Georgia, in 9 elections that he should not have voted in because of his felony probation status. He is now the first vice chairman of the Republican Party in the state of Georgia. That's right. This weekend, Republicans in Georgia elected this guy to be their first vice chairman. Can you imagine? Do donors really want to donate to a party whose first vice chairman is someone who had committed felonies in Pennsylvania, including counts of forgery? This is not just Georgia. Arizona, Wisconsin, Michigan, Georgia. The Republican parties in these states have decided to, I mean, they're not even embracing the revolutionaries at this point. They're embracing the radicals. Robespierre's already lost his head. The leaders of the revolution have been executed by the further revolutionaries who are taking over the place. It's insane. You've got a flat earther, an actual flat earther in a party leadership position. The woman believes that maps of the world are put on globes as a conspiracy to brainwash our children into believing the world is round. You can't make this crap up. She believes it. She's in a leadership position around the country. And here's the problem. These are states Republicans have to win. Arizona, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, Georgia. Republicans have got to win these. If you want to win the presidency, you've got to run through these states. But to get through these states, you got to bypass the crazy, insane people who are in charge of the state parties. And only Republican and Democratic parties can do partisan voter registrations. And that's part of the problem here. Any group can go out and do a voter registration drive. But if they are a nonprofit group, they cannot do a partisan voter registration drive. They can't exclude Republicans or Democrats. Now, where they work and how they operate can work to do that, but they can't be explicit about it. It's harder to do. Only state political parties can take money and do partisan voter registration drives where they explicitly only register to vote people who are tied to their political party. And they can get funding from their national party. So the state parties of Arizona, Michigan, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, Georgia, wherever, they can get money from their national party to do voter registration drives. But do you want to send your money to a state party that is run by insane, crazy people? I would venture to guess not. And yet here we are. The state party in Georgia, where the popular governor of the state, who won 75% of the Republican primary and won a majority of the votes against Stacey Abrams and led his party to statewide victory in every race except one, was not even welcome at his own state Republican Party convention. In fact, he got booed when his name was mentioned. Something's not right here. We need to, at some point, someone's going to have to do an intervention, but I think you're going to have to reach rock bottom with some of these parties. You got to hit, and they haven't hit rock bottom, and that's a disaster. It makes me fearful. I live in Georgia. I don't want the state to be taken over by Democrats, but when you got the Republican Party rejecting qualified candidates for a guy with a felony rap sheet, you got problems, and all of us are going to have problems because of these problems.